And who are you?
I'm Chief Lombardi.
Why are you videotaping?
Because it's what I usually do at the American Society for Cybernetics. I've been doing it for 20 years.
Good to know. What do you do in Baltimore?
Make movies. This movie is designed to be a plausible introduction to the ideas, people, and notions associated with cybernetic thinking, understanding, and doing.
We give children the experience of a command and control system instead of the experience of working out over time a mutual system.
There's a circularity here. This means that there's no natural superiority. In other words, we need to think in terms of a non-hierarchical world. It's very difficult to understand hierarchy in circularity. Circularity means if A then B and if B then A, and it seems that we have a way of looking at the world which moves us from flatness into hierarchy, and that is something that we do with our thinking, and it's very powerful and very useful, but it's not something that we should be imposing on the world. It's something we should understand as a way of thinking that leads to certain types of understanding.
No wonder so many people found cybernetics and systems theory unintelligible. We are a society that is, to put simply, counter-cybernetic.
One of the essays that Gregory wrote in Steps to Ecology of Mind, he talked about there are billions of people who are going to die, or whole species, or nations, but whatever it was bad. Unless we dealt with one of these three conditions. One is population growth, another one is technological change, and the other is what he called the Occidental idea of man. And he thought maybe the idea that we have of ourselves, maybe that's the idea that might change. So some idea of us.
When?
The special thing about cybernetics to me is the language. There's notions that come with different perspectives that without the language maybe I wouldn't have found and I wouldn't have used. And they help me to think about myself, to think about the relationship, the world, to my own intentionality, to my being in the world.
I like Past's idea of the art and science of the defensible metaphor.
Manipulating defensible metaphors.
Thank you.
The focus is on language. The idea is we live in metaphors. Cybernetics is the art and science of manipulating those metaphors, manipulating language, manipulating life. If you know what you want and you know it's possible, you don't need cybernetics. Cybernetics is useful when you want something, you think you want something, but you think it's impossible. Cybernetics then is about how to reconfigure resources in order to get what you want, in order to create a new system, not just a little improvement on the current one.
Sometimes a slight change in language use can bring about a treasure of thoughts that otherwise would never come to speech. Among them may be the sentence we are missing and longing for.
No language in the world has a way in its grammar to express systemic causation. If you change Lakoff's statement or claim to no language in the world has a way in its grammar to express cybernetic relationships, would you agree with that?
Well, that is the challenge, I think, of cybernetics.
Are each of us allowed, I guess, in our own epistemology to decide what is the criteria for being defensible?
Sure. That was, I think, embedded in...
It's a question. You're rolling your eyes. It's just a question.
I think that's embedded in Hask's definition. It is an invitation to any observer to define it as they see it. That's the beauty of some of these definitions that don't make sense. Yeah.
Paul, do you respond to that?
I always agree with Judy. No, after I hear what she says, I agree with her. I might not have agreed beforehand. I mean that.
My mother was doing things that were not done by middle-class American women, like breastfeeding. You got it. How lucky I was. How incredibly lucky to have a mother who questioned the cultural assumptions.
It's always the idea of radical change. Radical change takes place in the mind.
It turns out to be a fairly novel thing to say to people, independence is an illusion. We are all dependent on other human beings and on the quality of the air and the water and the planet we live on. And if we cannot be aware of that interdependence, we will act in ways that disrupt it.
In regards to the problem of global warming, we don't need another study to know it's happening. What we need are control systems that will do something about it. And we don't have that.
What we need is for people to change their minds.
Yes. What about Max? I'm very much for Max. Max is a particular friend of mine. Would you tell us about him, please?
Yes! Come here! I have!
Have what?
Come here!
Weren't you there?
I was.
When?
When you are right.
When am I right?
When you think that I was there.
But you are here, not there.
Right. You see, you're right.
How can I be right and wrong at the same time?
You can't. When you think that I was there, you are right. When you think that I am here, you are right. Since I, at the same time, was there and am here, you, at the same time, were right and are right, since I was first there and now am here. You simply have to be able to change your mind and the sloppy thinking that runs your mind. You have to try to be intelligent. You have to be trustworthily unreliable. And then you have to use this ability not to cheat and deceive, but use it rather to liberate process from the bondage of belief, custom, habit, principle, prejudice, fashion, medium, and other mentally violent immutables. The retroactive correction does not lead to apology, confessionals of sins, contrite genuflections, and vengeful hypocrisy. It encourages thinking, rethinking, humor, and the immense and cheerful respect for the inconsistencies when confronting so-called reality with critical contemplation, and your contemporaries with wonder and grateful disbelief. Max! Yes! Where are you? Here!
You see, Max was and is a dog. Who are you? Who have you been? Have you ever been a dog?
Yes and no.
Well, then I'm afraid that you are right. At the same time, however, I wish I was where you are right, wrong.
Yes. Yes. Yes! You were! You've got it! Where I was wrong, right! Let us go and tell the world!
you live through this streaming thing, there's got to be some way to talk about it, otherwise it's a waste of experience. So for instance, the 60s were wrong and we're right now. And music can show examples where you can think you're within a certain key signature, and you're absolutely right, if any of you know about modulation, and then the composer snaps it upon you that actually you are now in a different key signature. So you are right before, and there's a big change, and you're right after. And that's an idea that composers work with, poets work with, possibly maybe scientists work with this too, I don't know, showing that one can have had a change of mind and have been right before and have been right afterwards.
You are not after the truth, you can do that. Scientists play as if they were only scientists when they are not. So my only possibility, using verbal expression, is to anti-communicate. Is to use my words in such a way that I force them to mean what I want. And to force them to mean what I want, I have to create a whole condition in which they mean what I want. Curiously enough, I want them to mean what they mean in daily life. And the problem with scientists is that they consider them separated from daily life. And this is, yes, these scientists consider themselves separated from daily life. They claim that they are not emotional, that emotions do not participate in what they do, and so on and so forth. And it's not true.
One tradition in the American Society for Cybernetics community is composing imperatives. Some argue imperatives go against an ethical cybernetics. I consider them paradoxical invitations. At the ASC 2009 meeting, as a tribute to Herbert Brunn, Larry Richards introduced the anti-communication imperative. If you seek the new, compose asynchronicity. Today I introduce the transformer imperative. If you seek the new, compose, perform anti-communications.
Anytime anyone told anything, there was no repetition.
What I'm quite interested in is the idea of creating a system that's emergent in nature, which by its very nature you can't know what the outcome will be.
I write by hand most of the night and into the morning. Alice types most of the morning. Later, Alice and I compare notes. Alice questions, I clarify, and the works emerge. You are my honey, honeysuckle. I am your big. Communicating. If Picasso is applauded for painting pictures which do not represent anything he has hitherto seen, if Schoenberg can pen a score that sounds entirely new, even to ears accustomed to listening to modern music, why should an employer of English words be required to form sentences which are familiar in meaning, shape, and sound to any casual reader? Miss Stein herself implies somewhere that where there is communication, identification, there can be no question of creation. Where there is communication, there can be no question of creation.
We are a society that is counter-cybernetic. Think of humans as different from and against or ruling over, quote, nature.
I happen to be with you of the opinion that's a very important connection there, and I have invented the retardation of decay. Almost everything decays. Sooner or later, euphemisms for the word decay is, for instance, living, Everybody knows we are dying. But we have found the word living, which sounds so much nicer, right? Denies the message.
It's the rich against the pleasure. Ain't it all a bleeding shine? We have structured a system, not understanding the principle of requisite variety, not understanding this feedback phenomenon. When you look at a system which you say, oh, this is going wrong, how do we put it right? You should start by saying, why have we designed this stupid system to do the wrong thing?
It's the requisite variety song.
Broken lines, broken strain.
The problem is we're still in the Shannon information age. Shannon messaging means that you're going to send me something that I can already expect. And all I have to do is figure out, did you mean this or that? That or that or that or that or that or that. But the Shannon model doesn't allow me to understand how I can know something new.
Conversation. Turning together in a willingness to embrace asynchronicity so that something new may emerge.
In a conversation, say about that video camera or the other one which I see backing it up, either of you guys, or is there another one waiting around? Well, what happens is that we learn more about each other, you and I of you. We learn how we not only agree about the nature of a couple of somewhatly different oriented video cameras, but we also learn how we disagree. And in so doing, we learn about each other.
Okay, what is cybernetics?
I see it as a meta-discipline as opposed to interdisciplinary or even trans, but a meta-discipline that also enables a kinds of meta-communication in the sort of Batesonian sense, where you can dissolve or attempt to dissolve double binds and other constellations that are problematic.
I disagree with that.
What do you disagree with?
I disagree that cybernetics is a meta-discipline. I think it is transdiscipline, and I prefer transdiscipline because it's non-hierarchical. Meta embraces hierarchy, and I don't like hierarchies.
And I am saying yes to it floating above the disciplines.
And I have a video just for you.
Good, I look forward to it.
I myself regarded cybernetics always as a transdiscipline, not as a meta-discipline, for exactly that reason. There should not be a dominant position. Historically speaking, it fulfills all criteria of a transdiscipline. It has it developed its own specific language. People are coming from different backgrounds in terms of disciplines, and there is a wide field of common interests and applications.
I made up another symbol here just on the fly. This line with a line through the middle of it means these are opposed to one another a little bit.
That's cool.
Regulation.
The word remaining is the word subject. Disciplines have subjects in two senses of the word. They have subjects of study, and disciplines are formed by subjects, persons like you and me. Thank you for your attention.
My take on this is essentially how human beings experience their life and relations.
So I envision a new kind of technology, a technology which helps us reach insights, not which helps us send messages. Sing it.
The key for cybernetics is not the definition, it's about a vision for a different world.
I'm learning that I'm doing really cybernetic work. Now it makes sense, resonate. How could cybernetic be useful, such as feminism, for instance, for race and ethnical conflicts and conflict transformation.
Desires.
The late Amos Wilson said, "If we desire a better world, we must name the world we desire."
Desires.
I was thinking that perhaps we should reflect on the nature of our problem. Problems are always conflicts of desires.
So there is an undesirable present. How can one let present transform itself into a more desirable?
Desires.
So that people don't know yet what to write in the desire assignment, they should simply sit down and think a moment what they want changed, and then make a statement as if the change took place. Needs are conditions that have to be met so that they can happen again. There are one description of life. One, not the only one, but one description of life is that needs be met so that they happen again. If I could have sorted into the table of content the title needs, it would give us a different English language. We would understand, for instance, that we need peace. And since we need peace, we have to meet it with our conflicts. We have to meet it with our differences.
Because we can only argue with each other
when
we are.
That is what I want.
Every I not only needs peace, but wants peace. So asynchronicity is an invitation for generating newness through conversations that turns objects into rhythms. Provocative conversations. Provocative conversations. Provocative conversations.
I claim that the biology of love is central because I claim that love is the emotion that constitutes the social. There is a fundamental difference in the course of human relations depending on the emotion under which it takes place. If it is love, it is the behavior, the action that constitute the other as a legitimate other, eco-existent with itself, and the explanation of that phenomenon has to do with the possible history of recurrent interactions under which these systems drift together in coexistence if they enter in recurrent interaction without destroying each other. Now the beauty of it is that living systems are such that you can do this practically with all of them, in the domains in which they exist, of course.
If I want to live in relations that bring forth the legitimization of another in coexistence with myself, and want and need an honest language, then maybe the biology of love is an emotion that will invite a new, honest language.
We would like to be able at last to know how to teach language to say what we would like to think. So become teachers of language, not language teachers.
Herbert Brun used to say, things are what is said about them in our social worlds. Your distinction between what I've heard you call love as a social emotion and authority, what I call dissocial emotions, requires a new word in Brun's sentence for me, that things are what is said about them in our social worlds. Can you help me with this?
Yes, things are that which we do together so that they arise.
Well, that's not what I wanted.
I want to hear the stories. I want to hear the stories about how it actually was applied and changed something somewhere in the last decade. I'd like to have those conversations.
That's, I'm hoping to contribute to the conversation of the role of the arts, and particularly the dramatic arts, as a place of modeling, as a place of relating, doing multiple things. The theater is already a deeply cybernetic enterprise,
Sure.
But it has not been used consciously that way.
First of all, shamelessly I will tell, I think I'm doing that. I also will more modestly say that I'm not at all alone. I'm not a unique seeder. There are more people than meet the eye who are concerned with just reforming things. They are more concerned with revolutionizing, radically changing. However, occasionally the word evolution is attached to the hope that a revolution can be slow and painless. I don't mind. If that is what it takes, let's have a slow and painless revolution. Let's regard its decay.
The award you're giving me, the Warren McCulloch Award, could be considered an award for lifelong achievement. The award I'm receiving, however, is the award for lifelong avoidance. Avoidance. Avoidance doesn't mean to just not do something. Avoidance happens when you do not something. When you do, but not something. I think of avoidance as something I do that I'm proud of. For those of us who create sentences, and I know you all do, we're aware that part of a sentence's significance comes from the alternatives we speakers and writers have rejected. I'd like to end this accepted speech with a brief interview with Susan Rose Parenti.
Susan Rose. Rose is a rose.
Yeah. Susan Rose Parenti. Okay. Interviewer. Hello, Susan Parenti. Tell us a bit about yourself. Susan. About me? Oh, goody. I want to tell what I avoid and what I refuse to learn. Interviewer. Avoid, refuse to learn, that's so negative. Tell us what you do, not what you don't do. Tell us what you do. Susan, do. Messing with me? Do. Okay, I do. I do write music that cannot function as background. I do write skits and theater where the conversations go the way I want. I do teach at the School for Designing a Society in Illinois, where we notice that by paying attention to participants' language, it really improves their thinking and caring. Interviewer. Very good. Next question. Susan. Wait, not done. And I do participate in activities that are politicizing. Interviewer. Good. Next question. No, Susan. And I do take care of people I love when they're old. Enough. Quite a list. You're all over the place, aren't you, young lady? It looks like you're a jack of all trades, master of none. Ha! Susan. Thank you. That's one of my favorite put-downs. See, I'm not only committed to living in a certain way, I'm also committed to the insults, dismissals, and put-downs that way of living invites. The jack of all trades is one of my fave put-downs. It's a little sexist, makes it better. There's some put-downs I don't like, and I put down those put-downs. But there's some I do, and I put those put-downs up. Stop! You sure talk a lot. Tangential thinking, too. Just like a woman. See, that's another put-down I like. Tangential thinking. Interviewer. Do you have any children? Susan. Children? I told you, I prefer to take care of people when they're old and need help, not when they're young. Interviewer. No children. Sad. Susan. What? Interviewer. Do you have any other unfulfilled dreams? Susan. What do you mean? Interviewer. Well, children. Susan. Okay, interviewer. Do you have an unfulfilled dream? All right, this is the last question. Susan. Well, actually, since you asked, I would like more people to write plays. I would. Bateson wrote the Metalogue. Everybody discusses the idea. Those were plays. Those were plays. Language creates temporary realities. We have this now. And writing skits and plays on language tests the capacity of the available language. I'd like to come to a conference of cyberneticians, Batesonians, where a person writes her presentation and presents it, but she also writes the conversation she wishes would have happened after the presentation. She distributes it to thus the parts. So we finally hear how the conversation would go. Enough spontaneity. Let's hear how you wish language would function. Interviewer, have you won any awards or prizes for this week? Yes, thank you. I won the ASC's award for lifelong avoidance. Thank you very much.
What would it mean to think about a public intellectual?
And a kind of design sense, or in the sense in which there is lived and performed and produced in the world. And then we were thinking about how a lot of the systems that we have, including social networks, are supposedly cybernetical, but at the very same time, they're also very linear. They're also not very dynamic, and they also tend to kind of like just perpetuate hierarchies, but it does not allow true feedback.
It's not a question of what things are. It is a question of how I learn. It is a question of when I can say something. And as we become confident of that, we stop being these outside observers, we stop being these controllers, and we start swimming in something which floats. So these conferences and meetings like this, each time regurgitate stuff, and the next conference it will be possible to say different things.
Deep listening is a way of being. And so what I'd like to do is to play a little solo for you. I don't know what I'm going to play. Together, we're going to make this piece happen.
People listen for understanding rather than agreement. So conflict is an invitation to turn
If you take
together.
each end carefully, and I'll get out of the way. Oh. Where did that come from?
How would you undo that?
How would I undo it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd take a scissors and I would go.
Other than that, without cutting it.
Well, let's see. If she hands it back to me, it might get undone. It did.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
So we can
What a
exchange
metaphor.
back and
Thank
forth.
you
We can
so
have a
much.
conversation where we exchange noddedness.
Exactly. You deal with the nod and through the conversation and going back and forth through conversation, the nod disappears.
Maybe we're not doing theory, but we're doing improv theater here, now.
Maybe even some of us are not doing improv, but actually doing and acting based on the concepts of how the metaphors of cybernetics has affected my life and are performing daily life, hopefully in a way that might transform a conversation.
Performance. Sharing your presence. Sharing your presence. Not the content, not the form, not an opinion. Just, I'm here. Sometimes it's done by looking at somebody. Conveying your thought and your attention. Not only one. Lou, thank you. Carrying your messages so that they reach out the way you want.
Just one more question for now.
I'm learning that I'm doing really cybernetic work. Now it makes sense, resonate, and then I think about it, how does one work in cybernetics? Because the conference theme is living in cybernetics, but I think it should be cybernetic. I mean, living is cybernetic.